The sky above Earth trembled. A fleet of enormous alien warships, each as massive as a city, cruised silently through space, their dark silhouettes stretching across the stars. At the helm of this terrifying armada was Commander Zorg, a ruthless alien leader with a plan that he was certain would crush humanity. Zorg had studied Earth for years, meticulously analyzing its defenses, its military power, and its political landscape. According to his research, America was the weakest of the world's nations, a place where internal conflict and instability had weakened its ability to defend itself. The aliens believed this was their greatest opportunity. Zorg's cold eyes gleamed with pride as he surveyed the fleet. His species, the Xtar, were a race of highly advanced beings who had conquered countless civilizations across the galaxy. Their technology was unparalleled. Their ships were nearly invincible, and their weapons could obliterate entire planets. Yet, Earth, they thought, would be no match. We strike hard and fast. America will fall, and the rest of the world will follow. Zorg muttered to his second-in-command, Commander Varnak. Varnak, standing beside Zorg, nodded. The humans will never see it coming. They had underestimated humanity's ability to surprise, to adapt, and to fight back. But the Xtar had no idea what was waiting for them. Meanwhile, deep within the Pentagon, a different scene was unfolding. The American government, aware of the alien presence for some time, had been preparing for a worst-case scenario. A secret division of military leaders, scientists, and strategists had been working for years on a new kind of weapon. A weapon so powerful, it could turn the tide in an instant. But it wasn't just technology they were relying on. It was the heart and will of the people. Major John Carter, a soldier who had always felt more like a cog in the machine than a hero, was one of the many enlisted for the mission. The Pentagon had chosen him because of his experience on the battlefield, his ability to think under pressure, and his deep commitment to his country. But even Carter wasn't prepared for the enormity of what lay ahead. He was called to a briefing room early that morning, where the atmosphere was thick with tension. The walls were lined with digital maps and projections, all showing the alien fleet approaching Earth. The faces of high-ranking officers were grim, and Carter could see the unease in their eyes. He could feel the weight of the moment bearing down on him. "Major Carter," General Davidson said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "Your mission is critical. We need you to lead a team to carry out a covert operation to disable the alien fleet's primary weapon systems. You're the best we've got. We're counting on you." For the first time in a long while, Carter felt something stir inside him. Fear, yes, but also something else, determination. He wasn't going to let these aliens destroy everything he knew and loved. He was going to fight back, not just as a soldier, but as a human being. His mission was clear: destroy the Xtar's advantage, disrupt their technology, and give humanity a fighting chance. As he left the briefing room, Carter gathered his team, a group of skilled soldiers and tech experts. Among them was Sergeant Ryan, a heavy weapons specialist with a reputation for taking down anything that came his way. There was Dr. Sofia Ramirez, a brilliant engineer who had been working on the cloaking technology that would allow their squad to remain undetected by the alien fleet's sensors. And then there was Lieutenant Carla Hayes, a communications expert, tasked with ensuring their mission remained in constant contact with the Pentagon. The mission was dangerous, but Carter didn't have time to dwell on the risks. The world was about to change in ways he couldn't yet understand. But one thing was certain: he wasn't going to back down. With his team by his side, he felt ready to face whatever the Xtar threw at them. As their transport ships lifted off from the secret military base, Carter gazed out the window at the Earth below. The landscape looked peaceful, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. The alien fleet, still hundreds of thousands of miles away, was moving swiftly towards the planet. It was only a matter of time before they reached Earth's atmosphere. But Carter's mind wasn't on the alien ships, it was on his team. He had seen them in action before, and he knew they were capable of incredible things. Yet even they could not predict what would happen next. The cloaking devices they designed could mask their movements from the alien fleet, but the X-Tar weren't just technologically advanced. They were ruthless. This would be a battle of wills, not just weapons. Back in space, the alien ships grew closer. Zorg and his fleet cruised silently, unaware of the humans preparing to fight back. The X-Tar commanders were confident, almost arrogant. They had fought and conquered countless worlds. Earth's resistance, they believed, would be no different. But as Zorg's flagship broke through Earth's outer atmosphere, he felt a sudden, inexplicable tension in the air. Something was wrong. His ship's sensors flickered, then steadied. A voice from one of the lower officers spoke up. "Commander Zorg, we're detecting a cloaked object ahead. It's moving in tandem with us." Zorg's eyes narrowed. Impossible. The humans have no such technology. The officer hesitated. It's not like anything we've ever encountered before. Just then, a surge of energy blasted through the X-Tar fleet's weapon systems. A wave of electromagnetic interference caused their targeting systems to go haywire. The aliens scrambled, trying to regain control, but it was too late. They had no idea that Major Carter's team had already infiltrated the alien ship's core systems, using the cloaking devices to stay hidden while sabotaging their weapons. The first shot of resistance was fired by the humans, not by missiles or energy blasts, but by sheer willpower. The alien fleet, so sure of its victory, was now facing an enemy that was unpredictable, determined, and far more resilient than they had ever imagined. As the first wave of alien ships began to break apart, Zorg's arrogance quickly turned to disbelief. "What is happening?" he shouted, his voice shaking for the first time. The battle had begun, and the X-Tar were in for a surprise they would never forget. As the alien fleet descended toward Earth, it seemed like the planet's fate was sealed. The X-Tar, with their unparalleled technology, their deadly weapons, and their arrogance, were certain they would have no trouble overpowering humanity. Their fleets circled above Earth, and their commanders were confident their superior firepower would wipe out the human resistance before it even had a chance to fight back. The first wave of attacks was imminent, and the aliens began locking onto Earth's most vulnerable spots: major cities, military bases, and critical infrastructure. The world watched in terror as the skies above began to light up with the alien ship's weapon systems. But humanity wasn't going down without a fight. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a highly classified military facility, the true weapon of humanity was ready for deployment. For years, scientists and engineers had been working on a project so secret that only a handful of people knew of its existence. This weapon wasn't something the aliens could see with their sensors. It wasn't a laser or a missile, nor was it a force of sheer numbers. It was something much subtler, far more dangerous: cloaking technology. This wasn't the simple invisibility technology that had been used before in various forms. No, this was something far more advanced. It was designed to confuse, distort, and completely disable alien sensors. As soon as the aliens entered Earth's atmosphere, they would be unable to track human movements, rendering them blind and vulnerable. The X-Tar were so accustomed to their technological superiority that they couldn't even fathom such an innovation could exist. Major John Carter and his elite team of soldiers were the first to put this new technology into action. Their mission was clear: take down the alien ground forces that had already begun deploying robots, drones, and troops onto the surface. But they weren't going to do this in the open. They weren't going to fight like the aliens expected. They were going to make sure the X-Tar never saw them coming. The team gathered in a covered operations room deep underground. The air was thick with tension, the weight of their mission bearing down on every one of them. Carter stood before his team, a determined expression on his face. He knew the risks. They were going up against the most advanced military force humanity had ever faced, and the only advantage they had was the element of surprise. "All right," Carter said, his voice steady. "We've got one shot at this. Once we're on the ground, We use the cloaking tech to stay hidden from their sensors. We'll move quickly, take out their drones, and disable their robots before they even know we're here. Remember, they can't see us, but we can still hear them. Stay alert, stay sharp, and above all, stick together." His team nodded in agreement, each of them prepared for the dangers that lay ahead. They knew the stakes. They knew they were humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion. Failure wasn't an option. The transport ships carrying Carter's team lifted off from the military base, their engines humming softly as they ascended into the sky. The silence inside the ships was deafening. The soldiers lost in their thoughts, each one wondering if they would make it back. Carter's mind, however, was clear. He couldn't afford to think about failure. He had a job to do, and the fate of Earth depended on his success. As the ships entered the atmosphere, the first signs of battle began to unfold. The alien fleet was still high above them, but on the ground, things were different. Alien drones began to land, small and fast-moving, scanning the area for any signs of resistance. The X-TAR had already deployed their ground forces, and the robots they sent down to the planet were moving into position, scanning for any human life forms. As the team made their way through the air, Dr. Ramirez activated the cloaking devices. The world outside the ship seemed to blur as the cloaking tech took effect, making their ships virtually undetectable by the alien sensors. The soldiers inside were practically invisible to the enemy. They touched down behind enemy lines, near a heavily fortified outpost where the X-TAR had set up a base. The first sight they saw upon disembarking was a battalion of alien drones patrolling the area, moving in perfect synchronization, like a well-oiled machine. The robots were equipped with powerful energy weapons designed to obliterate anything in their path. Carter signaled to his team to move out. They moved swiftly, staying low, and using the terrain to their advantage. The cloaking technology kept them hidden, but they couldn't be too careless. Every step had to be calculated, every move precise. One mistake, and they would be exposed. As they approached the outpost, they saw the first of the alien robots. It was huge, almost 7 feet tall, with a sleek metallic exterior and glowing red eyes. It stood motionless for a moment, scanning its surroundings with its sensors. The team froze, holding their breath as it slowly turned its head, searching for any signs of life. Carter knew they couldn't just rush in. They had to wait for the right moment. Then, without warning, the robot turned its back to them. Carter gave the signal, and his team sprang into action. Ryan, the heavy weapons expert, moved first, silently approaching the robot. With a quick, clean motion, he detached a small device from his belt and placed it near the robot's weak spot, the back of its head. The EMP blast it emitted was silent but effective, frying the robot's internal systems and rendering it useless. The team moved quickly, taking out the other drones in the area the same way, strategically, silently, and without detection. The tension in the air was thick, but they couldn't afford to celebrate just yet. They had only just begun. As they moved deeper into the alien outpost, the team encountered more resistance. Alien robots and drones were everywhere, guarding the perimeter and securing the area. The close-quarters combat was intense. Carter's soldiers fought with precision, using hand-to-hand combat techniques to disable the robots. Each member of the team had a role to play, and they all worked together in perfect harmony. Sergeant Ryan was relentless with his heavy weapons, taking down multiple robots with each shot. Dr. Ramirez's quick thinking allowed her to hack into the alien systems, turning their own weapons against them. Every encounter was a fight for survival, a battle to prove that humanity was not just an easy target. And as the team moved closer to the heart of the alien base, Carter knew that the true test was yet to come. The cloaking technology had given them an edge, but it wouldn't be enough forever. Soon, the X-TAR would realize what was happening. Soon, the game would change. The clock was ticking. Humanity's fate rested in the hands of these soldiers, and they couldn't afford to make a single mistake. The mission was progressing better than they had expected. Major John Carter and his team had dealt with the initial wave of alien robots with ease. The cloaking technology had worked wonders, keeping them hidden from the prying sensors of the X-Tar. The soldiers moved like shadows, their every move calculated, their every breath synchronized. They knew what was at stake. They were fighting for the survival of their world, for their families, and for humanity's future. But, as with every battle, nothing ever goes as smoothly as planned. The alien forces were regrouping, adapting, and soon enough, they would realize what was happening. Carter's team was getting closer to their objective, the heart of the alien outpost, the core of their operations. But the closer they got, the more intense the battle became. Alien forces were everywhere, patrolling the perimeter, securing the area with increasing efficiency. It was during one of these intense firefights that Major Carter's team faced their first real loss. Bonner, a veteran soldier who had served in countless battles, was moving ahead to scout when everything changed. Carter had always relied on Bonner's experience. He was a steady presence in the field, a rock for the younger soldiers. But Bonner wasn't just a soldier. He was a father, a husband, someone with a deep love for his family back home. The team had been advancing through a narrow alleyway, flanked by alien patrols on both sides. Bonner, being the sharp-eyed veteran he was, had noticed something strange. Movement in the shadows. He quickly signaled to Carter, urging him to halt. "Something's not right," Bonner muttered, his voice low and cautious. Without a second thought, Carter motioned for his team to take cover. They ducked behind debris, weapons raised, as the alien patrols moved past them. For a few tense moments, the team stayed still, breathing silently, waiting for the danger to pass. But that's when it happened. As the alien patrols moved further down the alley, a sudden explosion rocked the ground beneath them, a blast that sent them all flying to the ground. Carter's heart raced as he scrambled to get up, but when he turned around, he saw something that froze his blood. Bonner was lying on the ground, his body twisted in a grotesque angle, blood pooling around him. He had taken the brunt of the explosion, pushing the rest of the team to safety with his last act. Carter rushed to his side, his hands trembling as he tried to stop the bleeding. It was clear to everyone that Bonner was beyond saving. The veteran soldier was gone. "Bonner," Carter whispered, his voice breaking. "No, this can't be happening." The team gathered around, the loss sinking in like a cold wave. Ryan, who had always admired Bonner's strength, clenched his fists in frustration, while Dr. Ramirez, ever the stoic scientist, turned away, trying to hide the tears that threatened to spill from her eyes. But Carter's mind was racing. The mission, the world. He couldn't afford to let this defeat him, not when humanity's fate hung in the balance. But how could he lead his team forward, knowing they had lost one of their own? He stood up, wiping the tears from his eyes, his face hardening with resolve. "Listen to me," he said, his voice low and firm. "Bonner gave his life for us, for this mission. And now we finish what he started. We fight for him, for our world, for all the people back home. We do this together, or we don't do it at all." The team nodded in silence, the weight of Bonner's sacrifice fueling their determination. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about honor. It was about making sure Bonner's death wasn't in vain. As they moved forward, Carter kept his thoughts on Bonner, but his mind remained focused on the mission. They had to destroy the alien outpost, take out the X-Tar leadership, and prevent their forces from completely overrunning Earth. There was no time to grieve. The battle was still raging. But as they neared the core of the alien base, something unexpected happened. A strange signal, one that Carter hadn't anticipated, began to cut through their communication system. The team's radios crackled, and a voice, one that was unmistakably human, came through the static. "Carter, you have to stop. You're walking into a trap," the voice warned, shaky and desperate. It was a voice Carter had heard before. Lieutenant Jacobson, a trusted ally from the intelligence division. But there was something wrong. His words were filled with fear. "What do you mean a trap?" Carter asked, his voice laced with confusion. "We're almost there. We can't stop now." There was a pause before Jacobson's voice returned, trembling. "The information I gave you, it was wrong. The X-Tar, they know you're coming. The whole mission, it's compromised. They've been watching you from the start." The revelation hit Carter like a physical blow. A betrayal. The one thing he hadn't prepared for. His mind raced as he processed the words. Was Jacobson involved with the X-Tar? Had he been a spy, feeding them false information all along? It didn't make sense. "Why would you do this?" Carter muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "We trusted you." But before he could say anything more, the line went dead. The shock of the betrayal shook the team to its core. How could they trust anyone now? Was this all part of the aliens' plan? Was Jacobson a pawn, or was he a traitor? Carter didn't have the answers. But one thing was certain. The mission was no longer just about fighting the aliens. It was about survival. They couldn't trust anyone now, not even their own government. "Stay focused," Carter commanded, his voice cold and hard. "We have one chance. We'll finish this mission, no matter what. For Bonner. For humanity." With that, the team pressed forward, steeling themselves for what lay ahead. The betrayal of one of their own added another layer of danger to an already deadly mission, but it also united them further. They had no choice now but to trust each other, to fight for each other, because in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. As they entered the heart of the alien base, they knew the fight ahead would be their toughest yet. But they were ready. Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. The battle had raged on for days, the world teetering on the brink of destruction. Earth's forces had fought fiercely, using every trick in the book to counter the alien invasion. But despite their best efforts, the alien fleet was overwhelming. Their technology was far superior, their numbers endless, and their strategy flawless. Every time Earth thought it had a chance, the X-Tar adapted, countering their moves with ruthless precision. The stakes were higher than ever. The fate of humanity seemed all but sealed. Yet, as the battle continued, Major John Carter and his team stumbled upon something that could change everything. In the heart of the alien base, hidden deep within the structure, they discovered a weakness. It wasn't a weapon or a device. It wasn't even something physical. It was the alien fleet's eye, the central system that controlled everything from their weapons to their tactics. This eye was the brain behind the X-Tar military, and it had been the key to their success. Without it, the fleet was just a collection of ships with no direction, no coordination, and no strategy. Carter and his team were initially shocked by the discovery. They had assumed that the alien technology was too advanced for them to hack into, but they were wrong. The AI system was not invincible. In fact, it had a flaw, a vulnerability that, if exploited, could cripple the entire alien fleet. "Are you sure about this?" Carter asked, his voice tense. He was staring at the complex data displayed on the screen in front of him, showing the alien eye's core architecture. The system was vast, intricate, and beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. But there it was, a tiny crack in the code. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Ramirez replied, her fingers flying over the holographic keyboard as she worked to breach the system. "It's like they never expected anyone to get this close." The team was gathered around the control panel, watching anxiously as Ramirez and her tech team tried to hack into the AI. Every second felt like an eternity. The sound of the ticking clock echoed in Carter's mind as the pressure of the moment weighed heavily on him. The AI had been the cornerstone of the X-Tar's success. If they could break it, they could turn the tide of the entire war. Outside, the battle continued to rage. Earth's forces, despite their resourcefulness, were struggling to keep the alien ships at bay. The sky above was a battlefield, filled with explosions, laser beams, and missile fire. The X-Tar were relentless, But for every inch they gained, the Earth's forces managed to push back just a little bit. It wasn't enough, though. Carter knew it wasn't enough. They needed something bigger, something that could change everything. "Got it," Ramirez exclaimed suddenly, her voice filled with a mix of triumph and disbelief. "I found the breach. I can access their central system. It's risky, but if we can pull this off, it will disable their entire fleet." Carter's heart raced. "Do it." Without hesitation, Ramirez tapped a few more commands, and the system began to process the command. They were about to launch an attack on the heart of the alien fleet's eye. The tension in the room was unbearable. Carter could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was it. If they succeeded, the aliens would be crippled. If they failed, everything they had fought for would be lost. As the seconds ticked by, the team held their breath. Then, without warning, the screen flickered. The entire system seemed to glitch for a moment, and the color drained from Ramirez's face. "I'm in," she whispered. The AI's central system had been breached. Instantly, chaos erupted in the alien fleet. The moment the hack was complete, the X-Tar fleet's control systems went haywire. Alien ships, which had been expertly coordinated, suddenly turned on each other. The once perfectly synchronized fleet was now a mess of uncontrolled vessels firing blindly at anything in their path. "What the hell is happening?" Carter muttered, watching the chaos unfold on the screen. The alien fleet's weapon systems were malfunctioning. Ships fired at each other, their powerful laser beams tearing into their own ranks. The once unified fleet was now a shattered collection of vessels, each fighting for control. The X-Tar command ships, which had once been untouchable, were now under attack from their own drones and fighters. The alien warships, so intimidating just moments ago, were now scattered and disorganized, vulnerable. Carter's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the destruction unfold on the screens. It was as though the tides of war had shifted in an instant. Earth's forces had been struggling to keep up, but now the enemy was in disarray. The AI that had guided them was now their biggest weakness. The once feared fleet was now a chaotic, self-destructive mess. "What do we do now?" Ryan, one of Carter's team members, asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "We attack," Carter said, his voice firm. "We take advantage of this moment. We don't let them recover." Outside, Earth's drones and fighter jets surged forward, taking full advantage of the alien chaos. The missile systems locked onto the alien ships, unleashing a barrage of explosive projectiles. The drones swooped down from above, launching precision strikes on the alien warships. With their weapons systems malfunctioning, the X-Tar had no way to fight back effectively. The sky above Earth became a battleground. Explosions rocked the alien fleet, creating fiery trails in the sky as their ships were torn apart. Earth's forces, using their advanced weaponry and newfound advantage, rained down destruction on the now helpless alien vessels. The once feared alien warships were now crumbling, falling to Earth's relentless assault. Meanwhile, Carter and his team moved to the next phase of their mission. The base was now vulnerable, and they had one objective left: destroy the X-Tar command ship, the heart of their operations. The alien fleet's disarray had given them the opportunity they needed, but they knew they had to act fast. The longer they waited, the more likely the X-Tar would regain control of their systems. As Carter and his team made their way to the command center, the sense of urgency was palpable. They knew that the battle was far from over, but for the first time in days, they had hope. The AI that had once been the driving force behind the X-Tar's invasion was now their greatest weakness. The turning point had come, and Earth had seized it. Above them, the sky was filled with the wreckage of alien ships, falling like burning stars to Earth's surface. The visual spectacle of orbital bombardment, drones firing their payloads, and alien ships disintegrating in midair created a cinematic atmosphere that was almost too intense to comprehend. But in the chaos, Carter's resolve remained unshaken. He knew that the war wasn't over, but the first step toward victory had been taken. The war had reached its breaking point. Earth's forces, exhausted and on the edge of defeat, had finally been given a glimmer of hope. The alien fleet's once unstoppable AI system had been hacked, sending the invaders into chaos. The sudden shift in power left the X-Tar scrambling to regain control, but it was too late. Earth's military, under the leadership of Major John Carter, had seized the moment. It was time for the final showdown. The atmosphere was tense. Every soldier on Earth's side knew that this was their last chance. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. No one could afford to make a mistake. The once imposing alien fleet, which had dominated the skies for so long, was now fractured and disorganized. But despite the chaos, they were still a formidable force. The X-Tar weren't ready to give up. They would fight until the very end, throwing everything they had at Earth's forces. Carter stood at the front, watching as the final battle unfolded. The skies above Earth were filled with the sound of explosions and the clash of laser fire. Alien ships, still powerful but now erratic, fought back fiercely. But it wasn't enough. Earth's forces, using the element of surprise and their advanced tactics, overwhelmed the X-Tar one by one. The tides had shifted, and humanity was fighting with everything it had. Major Carter's heart raced as he led his team into the heart of the battle. He had come a long way since the beginning of the invasion. He had seen the horrors of war, felt the pain of loss, and witnessed the destruction of everything he had fought to protect. But now, with the fate of humanity at stake, he was more determined than ever. This battle was personal. As Carter's team advanced, they encountered fierce resistance. Alien drones, once part of a coordinated force, now attacked in scattered groups, but they were no match for Earth's soldiers. The humans, fueled by the knowledge that they were fighting for their homes and families, fought with a passion that the X-Tar could not understand. Carter's team moved through the chaos, cutting through enemy lines with precision and skill. The visual intensity of the battle was overwhelming. The sky above Earth was filled with the wreckage of alien ships as they fell from the heavens, their fiery trails marking their descent. The explosions were deafening, lighting up the dark sky like 1,000 suns. Earth's missiles streaked across the sky, striking alien warships with deadly accuracy. It was a spectacle of destruction, but in the midst of it, Carter kept his focus. He had a job to do. The alien forces, though scattered and disoriented, weren't ready to give up. Their warships launched a final barrage of missiles, hoping to turn the tide in their favor. But the humans were ready. With their cloaking technology still active and their superior knowledge of the battlefield, they countered the alien attacks. Carter and his team, working in perfect unison, took down enemy ship after enemy ship. Their tactics were flawless. It was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight to win. And Earth was winning. However, even as victory seemed within their grasp, Carter knew that this final phase of the battle was going to cost them. The alien fleet, despite its confusion, still had powerful weapons. It wasn't going to be easy to secure a win. Earth's forces had the upper hand, but they were fighting on borrowed time. The longer the battle raged, the greater the chance that the X-Tar would regain control of their fleet systems. Carter understood that the clock was ticking. As the battle raged on, Major Carter was faced with a decision that no leader ever wanted to make. The X-Tar were cornered, but their command ship, the heart of their operations, was still intact. If they could destroy it, the alien forces would have no way of coordinating their attack. It would be the end of the war. But getting to the command ship wouldn't be easy. The X-Tar had placed their most powerful defenses around it, and it was heavily guarded. Carter knew that it was a suicide mission, but he also knew that it was the only way to ensure humanity's survival. He turned to his team, each of them battle-hardened and ready to face whatever came next. "We don't back down," Carter said, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "We finish this now." With that, they set out for the command ship, cutting through the chaos of the battlefield. Their mission was clear: destroy the X-Tar command ship, end the war, and save Earth. The journey wasn't easy. The alien defenses were fierce, and the closer they got to the command ship, the more intense the resistance became. Alien drones and soldiers attacked from all directions, but Carter and his team pressed forward. Each step was a struggle, but they moved with purpose, their focus unshakable. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they reached the command ship. The massive vessel loomed overhead, its dark silhouette casting a shadow over the battlefield. The air was thick with tension. This was it, the final moment. Carter looked up at the command ship, knowing that it would take everything they had to destroy it. They had come so far, sacrificed so much, and now they were on the cusp of victory. But the cost would be high. The X-Tar wouldn't go down without a fight. "We make our stand here," Carter said, his voice low but full of determination. "For Earth, for our future." With that, they launched their final assault. The explosion that followed was deafening. The alien ship erupted in a blaze of light, its powerful weapon systems finally destroyed. The battle was over. But the cost had been great. Carter and his team had succeeded, but not without sacrifice. Many soldiers had given their lives to secure Earth's victory. As the dust settled, Major Carter stood amidst the wreckage, looking out at the destruction. His heart was heavy, but his mission was complete. Earth had won. The alien invasion was over. The war had been brutal, but humanity had proven that it could stand against the odds. The final showdown had been a test of strength, will, and sacrifice, and in the end, it was humanity's courage that had triumphed. As the sun rose over a world scared by battle, Major John Carter stood tall, knowing that the fight was over, but the road to healing had only just begun. The battle was over. The last remnants of the once mighty alien fleet lay scattered across the battlefield, burning wreckage in the skies above Earth. Humanity had stood tall in the face of an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. But what followed the destruction of the X-Tar forces was not a celebration. It was the bitter end of a war that had cost so much. As the alien fleet, once the proud conquerors of many worlds, lay in ruins, the leaders of the X-Tar Empire could not believe what had just happened. For centuries, their empire had been a symbol of strength, relying on their advanced AI systems, superior technology, and ruthless tactics to crush any opposition. They had invaded Earth, expecting an easy victory. The human race was primitive to them, just another species to be wiped out, another planet to claim. But the humans had proven them wrong. Earth's military had used every tactic, every weapon at their disposal to turn the tide of the war. With their hidden cloaking technology, their ingenuity, and their relentless will to survive, humanity had overcome the odds and defeated the alien invaders. Now, with their fleet in disarray and their once mighty AI systems malfunctioning, the X-Tar had no choice but to surrender. The alien leaders, who had once been confident in their victory, now found themselves on their knees, begging for mercy from the very species they had underestimated. Major John Carter stood at the front, his uniform covered in the dust of battle, his face hard and resolute. His eyes scanned the broken alien commanders in front of him. The X-Tar leaders, their once proud postures now slumped in defeat, were at the mercy of humanity. The hum of Earth's military ships filled the air as they hovered over the battlefield, watching their commanders stand tall before their defeated enemies. Carter's voice rang out, calm and unyielding, as he stepped forward to address the alien empire. "You thought we were weak," he said, his voice carrying the weight of the entire human race. "You thought we were easy targets, but today you've learned the truth. We are not weak. We are survivors. We are fighters, and we will never back down." His words echoed across the battlefield, and for a moment, it felt as though the whole world held its breath. The X-Tar leaders, once so confident, now looked at each other in disbelief. They had come to Earth expecting to crush humanity without a second thought, but now they were faced with their own humiliation. The alien commanders, knowing that they had no chance of victory, and no way of escaping the consequences of their invasion, slowly fell to their knees. They had been defeated, not by superior technology or overwhelming firepower, but by the sheer will of a species that refused to be conquered. They had been outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and ultimately broken by the resilience of humanity. In that moment, the full weight of Earth's triumph sank in. The alien empire had fallen, and it wasn't just the X-Tar fleet that had been defeated. It was their entire belief system, their arrogance, their reliance on technology that had led to their downfall. Major Carter turned to his team, his comrades who had fought by his side through the darkest days of the invasion. Their faces were grim, but there was a spark of something in their eyes: pride. They had won, and the victory was more than just a military one. It was a victory for every human being who had ever been underestimated, for every species that had fought for survival against impossible odds. "We didn't just defeat an army," Carter said, his voice softening. "We defeated the idea that humanity is weak. We've proven that we are more than just survivors. We are warriors." The soldiers around him nodded in agreement. Their faces, worn and scarred by the battles they had fought, now held the satisfaction of victory. They had come a long way from the first days of the invasion, when fear had gripped their hearts and the weight of the alien threat had seemed too much to bear. Now, standing in the ruins of the X-Tar fleet, they had overcome their greatest challenge. The alien leaders, once so proud, now had no words to say. The X-Tar Empire, so sure of their superiority, had been humbled. They had seen firsthand the strength of humanity, the strength that came not from technology, but from the indomitable will to survive, the refusal to be defeated no matter the cost. And as the leaders of the alien empire knelt before Major Carter and his team, they could only offer one thing: surrender. "We beg for mercy," one of the X-Tar commanders said, his voice trembling. "We were wrong. You are stronger than we ever imagined. Please, spare us." The words hung in the air. For the first time, the alien empire, which had once believed itself to be invincible, was asking for mercy. The tables had turned. It was no longer Earth that was at the mercy of the X-Tar, but the X-Tar who were begging for mercy from humanity. Major Carter stood tall, his gaze unflinching as he looked down at the alien leaders. His mind was clear, his resolve stronger than ever. He had seen the horrors of war, had lost friends and comrades along the way. The cost of victory had been high. But now, with the end of the war in sight, he knew that humanity's strength lay not in their ability to destroy, but in their ability to rise above it all. "We will show mercy," Carter said, his voice steady. "But understand this: you may have the technology, the weapons, and the power, but it is our will to survive, our unity, and our strength as a people that you will never defeat." With those words, the fate of the alien empire was sealed. The X-Tar, once conquerors of many worlds, had now been humbled by the very species they had sought to destroy. Their surrender marked the end of the war, the end of the invasion, and the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. As Major Carter stood before the alien leaders, his heart heavy with the weight of all they had sacrificed, he knew one thing for sure: this victory would be remembered for generations. It would be a story of hope, of resilience, and of the unbreakable spirit of humanity. In the end, the alien empire had fallen, not to superior technology or brute force, but to the sheer will of the human race. And as Earth began to rebuild, one thing was certain: the X-Tar would never underestimate humanity again.